Olá, tudo bom? Oi, pessoal, tudo bem? I'm sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I lost track of time. Tudo bom, gente? Welcome to this Q&A. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Olá, tudo bom?
Oops, I'm listening to my own voice. Okay, guys, so I'm here today to talk to you about my new lesson that I published last Tuesday on YouTube. And I'm very excited about this lesson because I talk about the southeast of Brazil, o SUDESTE, which is a beautiful region of Brazil. And I would like to know if you guys can see me and hear me well. Okay, I see a lot of people here. I see Isa, Fosdick. It is so hard sometimes to say your names on social media, guys. Chase, Joel, language with Chris. Olá, tudo bom? And I also see Arum, Israel, Margus, Ryad, Andrew, Andrea, tudo bom? So good to see you guys. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the southeast. And but before I want to talk about a couple of things, I'm live in two places. Now I'm live on YouTube and on Instagram. I used to do these Q&As on Facebook and Instagram, but I had a lot of issues with Facebook Live. I don't know why. So I decided to use YouTube instead. So I'll be here from now on YouTube and Instagram every Thursday at 12 p.m. New York time, so add it to your calendar. Sometimes I have to cancel or change the time or the date, but I'll do my best to keep this schedule, so I'm here with you every week on the same time and day of the week. Okay. Another important announcement for you is that I received a lot of messages and emails from you asking to have access to the transcripts of my lessons, my videos and podcasts that I publish every week. And I decided to create a subscription for you guys to have access to this material. So I'm excited about that. It is not ready yet. I'm still working on it, but I think it will be ready next week. So I'll let you guys know. So if you want to have access to the transcripts so you can study, read the transcripts and also compare with the translation, this is a very good way of also learning and studying Portuguese. Okay, so I'll talk more about that next week when I have this ready. Muito bom, gente. So let's talk about my new lesson, the Southeast. I'm also here, I'm going to do like a quick review of the lesson, and I want to answer your questions. It is hard for me to read all the comments, so I apologize in advance if I don't answer your question, but I'll do my best to read your comments and answer your questions. If you are on Instagram, I recommend you use the tool for questions. You just click on, there is a question mark, you click there and you ask your question there. It is easier for me to find your question, okay? And if you are on YouTube, it is a little bit easier for me to read your comments. Muito bom! So let's talk a little bit about the Southeast. So did you guys know that Brazil is divided in 5 regions? Would you guys like to try to write down the name of the regions of Brazil to practice a little bit? How would you write it down, the 5 regions of Brazil? How would you write it down in Portuguese? So let me know in the comments. I'm gonna read some of the comments. So we have the 5 regions which are, we have the north, the northeast, we have the south, the southeast, and we have the Midwest, or you could say Central West in Brazil. So how would you say all these names in Portuguese? Temos o. Muito bom. So I'm seeing some comments here. Norte, Sul. We don't have a Central Sul region in Brazil. We have, Noroeste, it's Nordeste. Nordeste. So there is a name Noroeste, but we don't have a region called Noroeste in Brazil. We do have a region called Nordeste. Nordeste, muito bom, Nutsa. Então temos Sudeste, Centro It means center. Okay, so I have a very complete answer here from Lorena. Lorena. Norte, Sul, Centro, Oeste, Nordeste e Sudeste. Perfeito. So these are the 5 regions we have in Brazil. Norte, Sul, Centro, Oeste, which is like a central west or a Midwest. And we also have o Nordeste, which is northeast, and Sudeste, which is southeast. So these are the 5 main regions we have in Brazil. We divided Brazil in these 5 regions because Brazil is really, really big. So that helps us to understand better the communities. And so the IBGE, which is an institute in Brazil, they use this division to do statistics and also to organize public policies. So we divided Brazil in these 5 regions, and we use this nomenclature a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the Southeast. The Southeast, o Sudeste, tem 4 estados. So we have 4 states in the Southeast. Brazil it has in total 26 estados, 26 states, plus the federal district, o Distrito Federal, where we have the capital. But in the Southeast, we have 4 states, 4 estados. Which are? Quais são esses estados? What are the 4 states of the Southeast? Who knows? Who would like to tell me? I'm reading your comments. I want to see who knows the names of the 4 states we have in the Southeast of Brazil. Would you like to tell me in Portuguese? So we have the most famous states in the Southeast of Brazil. Of course, that we have other famous states in Brazil, like the Amazon and other places, but in the Southeast we have the most common ones, which are, muito bom, Max, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Espírito Santo e Minas Gerais. Muito bom. Juan também respondeu. Andrew. Muito bom. Excelente. Então, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Espírito Santo, Minas Gerais. So these 4 states, they are part of the Southeast region. So the Southeast is the most developed region in Brazil. It has the highest opportunities for jobs and the best universities. So it is a lot of people from everywhere goes to the Southeast to work. So especially in São Paulo. São Paulo is the biggest city in the South America. It is bigger than New York. We have more people. It is bigger in size and in population than New York City. So I would like to know if you guys have questions about this lesson or any other question related to Portuguese. I'm here to help you. I'll talk a little bit more about some details of the Southeast region, but if you have questions, I'm here to answer your questions because this is a Q&A, not a regular class. Muito bom. So reading some of the comments. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what my favorite place in this area is. Rio de Janeiro, of course, which is the most famous city of Brazil, I guess. I did not talk about Bahia yet. So Bahia is located in the northeast. I see a question here from Popadani. I don't know, I can't pronounce your name. So Bahia is in the northeast. I will make one video, one lesson about each one of the regions. So this week is about the southeast. Next week I'll talk about the south, and then the following week I'll talk about the northeast, which is also one of my favorite places, regions of Brazil. So I see some questions here, guys. Okay, so, now I'm seeing a lot of questions. How do you call a person from São Paulo? So you guys, you know that. Who watched my lesson? If you watched my lesson, you know how to answer this question. How do you call a person who is from São Paulo? So we have two different names. We have a name for the person who is from the city, the capital, and a different name for those who are from the state, São Paulo state. So who knows the answer to this question? Let me know if you know the answer. Let me see. So yes, so Paulista are those who are born in the state of São Paulo. So anywhere in the state, you are Paulista. And if you're born in the city, you are also Paulistano. So Paulista is always with the A at the end, okay? Doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman, Paulista. E Paulistano if you were born in the city, okay, in the capital. Okay, very good. I see that you guys watched the lesson. Looking for more questions. So talking about the accent, I see like some of you have asked about the accent. So it is very interesting that we have so many different accents in this region, right? That each city, sometimes even if you go to São Paulo, it is funny. If you go from one neighborhood to another, the accent changes a little bit. So we have a lot of accents. I talk in the lesson a little bit about the accents in São Paulo and Rio and Minas. So in São Paulo, one interesting characteristic between the capital and the other cities in the state is the pronunciation of the R. So we have the capital. Usually we have the fricative R, which has a vibration, like the word porta, porta. It vibrates. Of course, we speak fast, right? You don't have to. I'm exaggerating a little bit. So usually we say porta. So this is in the city of São Paulo. But in many other cities outside the capital, people use the retroflex R, which is similar to the English R, like in porta, porta. So this is the difference between these two accents are in São Paulo, okay? In Rio de Janeiro, however, we have a different R. It is more aspirated, like it has the R passing through in your mouth, and it is similar to the sound of the H in English, like porta. So this is how the Carioca speaks. Carioca are those who are born in Rio de Janeiro, Cariocas. So Cariocas would say porta. So we have three different R's pronunciations of the letter R here. And these sounds are usually at the end of syllables, okay? At the end of words or in the middle of a word if it is at the end of a syllable. So porta in the city of São Paulo, and also this accent is common in the south. Porta in small cities in São Paulo, and porta in Rio de Janeiro. Three very different ways of pronouncing the same word, so you can have an idea of the variation of pronunciations in Brazil, especially the letter R. The letter R changes so much. So this was a good question. There are so many other aspects of the language, of the accents and language in this area, like in Minas Gerais. They have such a beautiful accent, but they do a lot of reductions. So sometimes it's hard to understand them because they don't pronounce the entire word. They pronounce like just a piece of it. So it is very interesting. For instance, in Minas Gerais, they would not say, we do that everywhere, but in Minas Gerais it's stronger. Like they really do a lot of reductions. So instead of saying, onde você está? Where are you? In Minas Gerais, they would say, onde você está? Just like one piece of each word, and they connect and reduct everything. Okay, so that was a good question. So one more question here I have a question about how people of outside the southeast perceive this region. Is there some kind of animosity or rivalry because this region gets so much attention from the media and government? Well, I never felt that. I think that a lot of people, I've heard some people are afraid of because the cities in the southeast, they are bigger And so we have all the problems of bigger cities, right? There is more violence. You don't have like that sense of community and neighborhoods, like people, if you don't know anyone in the city, it can be very hard to go to these cities. So I see that sometimes people are afraid of these cities. They're afraid of the violence, but it is a myth, because if you go to these cities, you see that you can have a normal life in these cities, and it's not that violent. You just have to be careful, as you should be careful everywhere. So there is a little bit of this idea of they are violent cities, and that you won't have the community that you have in your city, which is normal. But I don't think there's anything else. There is nothing against people from these places. They're usually considered very nice places to go and to live, especially Rio de Janeiro. That is all that we always think about, the beaches, and São Paulo is more a place to go to work. A lot of people don't like São Paulo because São Paulo is not I would say it is not like a beautiful city, like visually, there is a lot of pollution and cars. But there are so many nice things about São Paulo, so many beautiful neighborhoods and parks, and the people from São Paulo are amazing. So sometimes the first impression in São Paulo can be a little bit hard, but if you really get to know the city, you see all the wonderful things about the city. Okay, I see that you guys have more questions. I have one question here from Instagram. Are there many jobs for English speakers who are fluent in Portuguese? I can only think about like English teachers. You definitely have a market for that in Brazil. People are always interested in learning English. Most Brazilians don't speak English well, so there is a lot of interest in learning English. And maybe in big companies and hotels, I cannot think of other examples. So English teaching or hotels, they need people who speak English. But I would say that you would need to speak at least a little bit of Portuguese to live in Brazil, because most people don't speak English at all. So you would have a hard time living in Brazil if you don't speak Portuguese at all. I recommend you learn at least the basics. Okay, looking for more questions, guys. So Monica, teacher, your suggestion would be to try to copy only one accent, because if not, we could end talking with a little of every region of Brazil. My recommendation is that you don't worry about accent at all, because when you're learning a language, you have so much to think about. You have to learn grammar, vocabulary, so many things. Just relax about the accent, okay? Just relax, just follow teachers that you like on social media and imitate them. If you have Brazilian friends, just imitate the way that they speak. I never worry about accent when I'm learning a language. Like I learned English when I was in Brazil. I didn't care if I was learning American or British. I was just interested in learning the language, and I have my own accent. You can see that I don't speak American English or British English. I speak like a very Brazilian / American English. So now my accent is a little bit more American because I live in New York, but I never tried to have an American accent. Never. It just came naturally. And I never lost my Brazilian accent. So I don't think you should worry about that, because it's one more thing to worry about, and it's not that important, because if you speak Portuguese, you have your own accent, and it really doesn't matter. Like even my Portuguese, I don't have one specific accent. I lived in many places in Brazil. I was born in the Northeast, I lived in the South, I lived in São Paulo. My accent is mixed. Nobody cares, seriously. So don't worry about that. It's important that you understand people, and it is important that people understand you. So that's the most important thing. Okay, looking for more questions, guys. Awesome. I see that you guys have a lot of questions here. So José has a good question. What is the best thing to do once you're in São Paulo? So many good things to do in São Paulo. It's such a big city. I recommend, I talk about a little bit in my video, I talk about if you like to eat Brazilian food, you should explore that. Restaurants in São Paulo are amazing. If you should go to the padarias to have like regular Brazilian food in the padarias, they are so good. And in São Paulo, you find good museums. I recommend 2 museums at least. We have many museums, but I recommend MASP, which is the Museum of the Modern Art in Brazil. And we have a Museum of the Portuguese language, which is in the center of the city. Museu da Língua Portuguesa. I highly recommend you go to this museum if you're interested in learning more about the Portuguese language. It's super fun, and it's a very beautiful area of the city with old buildings. It's very nice. And I also recommend you go to the park Ibirapuera. It's a beautiful park. You can relax and walk, and that's it. So many other things to do in São Paulo. So enjoy restaurants, parks, museums. Nightlife in São Paulo is amazing. So I recommend you go out with people from that. Just don't go out alone in the night because you can get lost. It's a big city, but there are a lot of amazing things to do in São Paulo. Good question. What else, guys? Mais perguntas? Is the R sound in Portuguese similar to Spanish? It depends on the accent. So as just said before, we have many accents, especially when it comes to the R. So some pronunciations are similar to Spanish. So like in São Paulo, we say porta. It's the same R as in Spanish, right? And also in the South, we have this R that is similar to Spanish. In other places in Brazil, it's not exactly like that. And also depends on the position of the R. I talk about the R changes the pronunciation depending on the position. In the beginning, it has one pronunciation. In the middle, it has a different pronunciation. So I recommend you take my mini course. I prepared a mini course in pronunciation. It is free. It is available on my website, speakingbrazilian.com. Take a look at the lesson about the pronunciation of the R. Okay, I talk about all the details. Okay, looking for more questions, guys. So Monica is asking, how about Brasília? Is the capital of, nobody talks about it. It's not a very touristic city. It is the capital. It was created to be the capital. So there are beautiful buildings because it was created by an architect. So there are beautiful buildings, and I think you should go at least once. I don't have much information about Brasília. I've been to Brasilien once many years ago. I remember that the area of the Planalto Central with the main buildings for the government, they are very beautiful. So we have beautiful things to see in Brasília, but I don't have much information about that. Okay. Very good, guys. I'm looking for other comments. Is there so very fun comment, is there a vegetarian version of pão de queijo? So all pão de queijo are vegetarian, okay? All versions of pão de queijo, they are vegetarian, but not all versions are vegan, okay? So usually they have cheese because it's made with cheese, but you can find vegan versions, but usually you just have to it is hard to find. You have to bake it at home. You just have to do the same thing without the cheese. So yeah, vegetarian as vegan, no. Vegan is harder to find. Okay. How do you spell the people born in Rio de Janeiro? Carioca. C-A-R-I-O-C-A. Carioca. So in the city of Rio de Janeiro. If you're born in the state, you're called Fluminense. Take a look at the video that I posted on YouTube, and you find you'll be able to read how to write all these words in the I posted on the subtitles. Okay, guys, looking for more questions. Awesome. Very good. Why do you think the capital of Brazil is not located in the southeast region? It used to be. So in Brazil, we had different capitals during our history. The first one was in Salvador in the northeast, because it was the most important port at the time. And then it changed to Rio de Janeiro. So Rio de Janeiro was the capital of Brazil for a long time, when the Portuguese court was living in Brazil. So we have a very fun history in Brazil. It is the only place in the Americas where the court, the European court, moved to the colony and lived in the colony for a long time. So Brazil was the capital of Portugal for a long time. When the family, the royal family, was running away from the Napoleonic wars, so they just ran away to Brazil, and Brazil became the capital of Portugal and Brazil. So we had the capital of Brazil was established in Rio de Janeiro during that period. And then they decided to create a city that was more in the middle of Brazil, to be closer to the other states, I guess. So it was strategically, and they literally created the city, right? They designed the city to be the capital. They did that with the intention of being in a more central way place in Brazil, where they could focus on having a place exclusively for the intention of being the capital of Brazil. So they created the city, and they changed, I think it was in the 1960 that they changed the capital to Brasília. Muito bom. Okay, guys, any other question? Okay, I see that our other questions here on YouTube. So many comments. I'm sorry I cannot read all your comments. Ok, so vocês têm restaurantes veganos em São Paulo? So when I lived in São Paulo, I moved to the US like about 9 years ago, almost 9 years. When I lived in São Paulo, we didn't have much vegetarian and vegan restaurants. The few restaurants that were vegetarian, they were not very good. The food was pretty much tasteless. So I usually just go to regular restaurants and I just order something vegetarian or vegan from the menu. I just, can you do this without that? So that works, and the food is really, really good in São Paulo. But I know that things are changing. The last time I went to Brazil last year, I found a lot of vegan options in regular restaurants. So you go to a regular restaurant and they have vegan options on the menu. So that's good. That's good news. I think things are changing little by little in Brazil. It is not easy to be vegan or vegetarian in Brazil because there is a huge culture of eating meat. But I think things are changing little by little. I don't know if we have good vegan restaurants, but you can find good vegan options in regular restaurants nowadays. Okay? Okay. Looking for more questions. So Chase is asking, quais regiões do Brasil são frias? So in Brazil, most of Brazil, we are a tropical country, right? So it is a warm country. But in the south, it gets cold. We have winter in the south. It is not as cold as in the northern hemisphere. We don't have snow. I mean, sometimes a little bit. I've never seen snow. I lived in the south for like 10 years, never seen snow. But once in a while we hear about snow in the mountains, but it's not something common. So we usually get up to 0 degrees Celsius, which is like 32 Fahrenheit. So this is the coldest that it gets in the south of Brazil, usually. So yeah, and we have like very hot summer and very cold winter in the south of Brazil. From the southeast up, it is really like the winter is really, really mild. It's not cold if you compare to the US or other northern countries, right? Okay, guys. You guys have amazing questions. Okay. Trying to choose questions because I have so many questions. I won't be able to answer everything. So do they have Christmas trees in Brazil for Natal? Yes. So it is very funny. I even made a video about this last year. So you can check on my YouTube channel a video that I made about Christmas in Brazil. I talk a little bit about the culture of Christmas in Brazil. So we do have Christmas trees in Brazil. We imitate the US in this case. Okay, so we have, and Europe, I guess, I don't know. So we do have the Christmas tree, and it is very funny because we use the same kind of decorations, but in Brazil, December is summer. So there is no, but it is really funny that if you go to stores in Brazil right before Christmas, you see all the decorations with like fake snow. and the Christmas tree, which is a tree that is more common in the winter, right? We don't have that kind. I mean, you can find that kind of tree in the south of Brazil in a few regions, but it's not common in Brazil, you know? So it is really funny. We just imitate. We got this culture from the US and Europe, and we imitate the decorations and everything. So it is very common to find Christmas trees in Brazil. But it is very, very rare to see real Christmas trees. Maybe in the south, I've never seen one in Brazil. It is usually fake Christmas trees in Brazil. Okay, guys. Okay, so this was amazing. I have to end this Q&A. I hope this was useful for you. I see that there are a lot of questions that I could not answer, but thank you so much for joining me. We'll be here again next Thursday at 12 p.m. New York time. And I hope I'll be able to answer more of your questions. If you have more questions about the Southeast, I highly recommend you watch my new video. I can tell that some of you have not watched yet because you're asking questions that I did answer in the video. So take a look at the video. It is available on my YouTube channel. I talk a lot about it, a lot of information about the Southeast. And next Tuesday, I'll publish a video about the South. So I'll be here next week and we can talk about the South. And if you have more questions about the Southeast, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, it was lovely to see you all today, and I'll see you again next week. Beijo. Tchau, tchau. Boa quinta-feira para vocês. Okay, where's the button?